All right, we are live. Uh, yeah, we had some technical difficulties to the late start here, but no worries.
I hit
Uh,
it with a hammer. I started beating my computer and my microphone with each other until they started working. So here we are.
yeah, here we are, and we are talking about Malayo Python timorensis.
Well, is
Um,
that the Latin or has something changed again?
that's the Latin as far as what I see.
That's the Latin that's the only Latin I accept. So
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I know that there's been we'll get into it, but this species in particular that we're going to be talking about is in the hobby what we call the Timor python, but reality
The
they
Lesser Sudan.
it's the lesser Sundas python is really the good name, the common name that we should use, because as we will find out, the Timor python probably doesn't even occur on Timor.
On Timor Island? What?
Yes. So
yeah, I figured that was coming.
a couple things. What's going on with you? Let's start at the beginning. Let's do some housekeeping.
Dude, so I came home from like just being away for a day, but
you were away for the weekend, right?
I was away for we left Friday and we came home Sunday. So really it's like Saturday and some hours. Like it wasn't like the weekend or anything like that. So it was just at the height of the season, the height of where I'm at right now with the babies and everything, the room was a complete wreck. like I was only gone for a day. What happened? So
right.
today was just massive cleaning right after work and doing all that fun stuff. And I still have the I still have the corn snakes that are coming. The blonde hognose are coming.
Holy shit.
I'm still trying to get the giants eating. I have to take pictures of everything that is eating so I can put it up for sale. And oh god, it's sheer pandemonium over here. Like, oh my god. The rough scale did not lay eggs.
No, okay.
No,
all right.
That did not happen. So
it's always next year.
Yes, there is always next year when I will have two ready. So I can try to do that, but I'm almost glad.
I never thought I would hear you say I'm glad.
I don't want any
didn't produce. Okay,
well, the problem is that you get
this
the babies.
Is where we are.
Well, it is. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. Well, you get the babies, but then it's like getting them all feeding could just be like pulling stuff out of your pulling teeth.
Yeah.
So you really want to compound that by adding more that are just going to be a little touchy about eating. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that. I got Hamburg this Saturday, so I'm going to go there, grab a couple things, and see what's around, and then I should be out of there before the doors even open.
Is that when the mites come out? When the doors
no. First off, they're constantly there. I think you could go to the Shriner Circus in that building and come away with reptile mites. But I was offered a couple tables from people who nobody wants to vend in the middle of August in that place.
Because it's 365 degrees.
Oh yeah,
you could bake a cake.
Tortoises and monitors love it, but everything else in that building wants to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm not doing it. So
okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't really have anything going on as far as breeding or anything like that. So, but I am putting together my breeding pairings for the upcoming year. So I'm pretty excited about that because
2023
we are right around the corner, my man. So
I don't even want to think about that because you know what my fucking bread liar do? End of September. It's so I have maybe a week or two to get them started before everything has to start going down.
Yeah. So I did take a deep dive into this species. So this is sort of it seems that for whatever reason, me and Rob just can't seem to line up time to do Student of the Serpent. So I said,
somehow I've been tricked into doing Student of the Serpent with you. I don't understand how this
We're just going to do it on NPR. That's all. We're just going to do it that way. I mean, we've done it. we've
I
done
see
it
what
for
happened here.
we've covered what rough scale pythons.
Yep.
I think in the past we kind of dabbled with coastal carpets, and I think we did
I see what
another
you're doing
carpet
here. You're
python.
doing animals that I know, like that I have and I love.
Yes.
So I won't put up too much of a fight when
So-
you're like, we're gonna do a deep dive into this python. Okay. Like it's
I have done all your homework for you, Owen, and put it in a
Excellent.
nice PDF and sent it to you
now,
in a
now
nice
you
package.
now you need to breed it.
Now you
Like,
just need to study
it's almost
it.
like you're trying to send me some kind of message
Yes.
here.
Breed these, would you
Weird.
please?
Next will be diamonds, and that'll be for you.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I thought that I don't know. I was thinking about like, it seems like the reptile hobby world, whatever, seems to be focusing more on the personalities, and that's cool. But to me, I quite enjoy the animals much more.
do you mean the personalities of the animal or the personalities of the people who are
No, they're like the personalities of the reptile hobby,
using the animal as like a
Correct.
as a jump rope?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. So,
All
so we're gonna do that.
Okay.
So yeah, carpets and coffee. I just wanted to let everybody know we're moving to an every other Friday at this point.
Because there's several demands, because now that I'm a permanent cast member of this one, I had to come in and raise all kinds of hell.
Yep.
And
his contract
Eric had to
stated
shift some things to placate my contract and my bitching. So yeah, that's where we are at.
So we're there. Maybe we'll start at 6. Maybe we'll start at 7. I don't know. We'll soon to be.
We'll figure that out later.
And also, our compadre Lucas Lee was on Snakes and Stogies last night, so you should check that out.
Okay.
He hatched out a couple blackheads, so he's so moon about that.
Those, and they're weird looking. Like the one,
the one is just pretty wild,
really wild, like really high cool. Black. And I'm like, I don't need black. Holy shit, that's awesome! Like it was, yeah.
And then in sad news, Evan Waxler passed away, which is kind of a bummer.
That was kind of out of left field, and obviously, condolences out to everybody. Who knew him, and friends and family with that, especially our good friend Keith. I know he was pretty tight with Evan, and he had been at several. I think every Carpet Fest we had.
Yep.
I'd met him at several shows. I know he hung out with us at Tinley.
He came on the Boland's Roundtable a couple times.
So it was that. I know he was a pretty big part of the community, and I know even he cared about pretty much a lot of different animals. I remember the one time we were at Tinley, some dude had fly river turtles, but they weren't in water, and Evan literally like threw money at the guy and said, "Will you please put the turtles in water?"
I remember that.
Like, oh my
he was
God.
so mad.
It's just like, okay,
I forgot all about that. Yeah, that's cool. Cool.
So that was one of those. So very sad to hear that.
Yeah. So I don't know. You got anything else, or you want to get into it? You want to talk some
I got nothing.
Okay. So we're gonna I think I had mentioned to you a few weeks ago about, I think you were talking about your upcoming season or whatever, but I talked to you about this paper that the Barkers had.
You did.
About breeding Timor pythons. So I thought it was in this one book, but it turns out it's in this other book, which is this right here. And
damn it.
Yeah,
I need that one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So Rob Stone gave me this as a gift 1 year.
Of all the Timor pythons you have that you're trying to breed, right? Yeah.
Well, I have had 2.2 of them.
I know you have. I know you have.
I think Owen now has my 2.2, or yeah, or he has the one.
I have the one. Yep. I have the one still. Yep.
So I thought, as I found it and sent you the thing, I thought pretty cool to talk to Owen, since we've both worked with this species. You currently work with this species. You're trying to breed this species. So
the problem
we can
is,
sort of pick apart, what the Barkers did.
And we can see how that can be kind of arranged, and I am constantly looking for that next whale, like white whale, to throw spears at. So it's
I got to tell you, man,
they're high on my list, man.
I've sort of been, I don't want it's not a burnout feeling, but like sort of like nothing, to your point, right? There's no next mountain to climb or whatever.
Right.
But going back into researching, spending just pretty much the like 4 evenings in a row just researching.
You know, you can research everything and write out a whole plan, and then I'll execute it, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
we're doing it's a team effort. Then
yes, this is how we work.
This is
and
how
then
it
if there's a
works.
baby, I can pick a baby.
You can pick a baby. You can
There we
pick
go.
a baby out of the clutch of Team Wars. You can have one.
Yes.
One.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have 2 because then you'll breed them.
That doesn't make any
You'll
sense.
use your own work to
come now.
undermine me. It won't work that way. But so I figured it would be cool to sort of to talk about the, like I said, the Barker's paper. Obviously, that led me into sort of trying to do some natural history, which I freaking love the natural history of it. I just love it, man. So hopefully the listeners do too. There's really not a whole lot of information out there. So I'm thinking if it goes over well, I think we're going to try to do this with every species of python.
I would say before we start that I need more Team Wars, so I don't want you guys to
go out and buy them.
Go out and buy more team, like go out and get
Team Wars. Let's not call them Team Wars.
I'm sorry.
Let's call them Lesser Sudan's pythons.
Lesser Sudan's python, whatever. I need more. Don't y'all run out and go do that, because it seems like every time I mention like really cool animals that I really love, they all of a sudden either disappear or the price goes through the roof. So they're not cool animals. I, for one, actually hate them. So I don't. Yeah.
Oh man. So like I said, I've had them twice. I've had 2 pairs of them. You know, obviously with their species, like we say a lot of times, there's certain little quirks with them that pretty much you're just going to have to accept if you want to work with the species. And it's not the end of the world. Could be worse, you know, but there are a little, you know, they're very, what would you say? Nervous.
They are an extremely, they have 2 sides of the coin. Either they are going to be coming at you like food mode, everything in front of me is going to get bit, or they are running, screaming from you, flipping their tail all around. And these guys are the worst when it comes to musking, liquid, like peeing and stuff like that when they want to let go. So it's one of those things, either which is it's kind of why I take a hands-off approach to mine, because when you do have to handle them, it is going to get gross very quickly. So yeah,
I did. I kind of paid attention because you have Rob's pair too, right? So,
yeah, I have. Right now I have a reverse trio because unfortunately I lost one of my females. Okay. So yes, I do have a reverse trio, but Rob's pair is still part of that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, so I guess you had 2.2.
I had 2.2. Yep, I had 2.2 up until this past year. My larger female. Unfortunately, she died of cancer. So.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that was it. When you have a snake that starts eating and then puking, it's like you know what's going on there. And then because Melissa can do all the things, she had a very large tumor in her stomach. So she would eat something, it would get down to a point where it can't go any further, and then she'd throw it up. So
damn, that sucks.
I know it sucks. And of course, I'm like, oh, go get another female, $3,000. Nope, like I don't need that right now.
I haven't even really looked at that. Are they available at all? Or are they?
There are a bunch available right now. It's just
really?
They're $3,000 each.
Are they captive born and bred, wild caught?
Allegedly. The person who's allegedly captive born and bred or captive hatched at least. So.
I don't know. I wasn't able to. So they came into captivity around the late 60s, early 70s, and some of them were in fact established. But I will. I'll talk about the breedings that came up to where the Barkers were the 3rd people to breed them, and 3rd reported people to breed them. You know, who knows?
Who knows who did what or where?
Right. But so yeah, like I said, I think that they are they're one of the most beautiful species of pythons, like the iridescence on the back end of the tail where there's no
no pattern.
pattern, and just like they're very well, obviously you can really see the retic in it.
I for one love that their heads are this like kind of like that greenish color, but they have the black rim around them that kind of does that. Like I really totally dig the heads. If I could if I could set up a whole room of these things, I'd have like 6.
They're cool snakes. I guess I don't really like look at I never really had the issue of what they're known for, only because I don't really handle all that much.
It only happens when you pick them up. Don't do that. It's like, oh, problem solved. I mean, I started giving mine giant bins, and I just moved the whole bin and didn't really have to worry about they don't need to like me. I really don't, that's the truth with all my animals. You don't need to give a shit about me. Don't hurt each other and make others. So that's all I want.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. I mean, taxonomy, we all know how we feel about taxonomy.
It changes every time.
It's kind of one of those things.
I like the idea of Maleo python because it puts them in with retics, and I think that is the best place to put them.
So I'm going by the Barker's Pythons of the World Volume 3 book, and basically that's where they put them. So I kind of went along with that. I couldn't really find. I had the paper where they moved them to that, but I couldn't seem to track that down. So and taxonomy, like I said, is not necessarily my thing.
Taxonomy is a living, breathing creature. It's constantly going all over the place.
So, but there is an interesting story about their whole how they were named and whatnot. So they're medium-sized python. They're about 6 to 8 feet, right?
Medium, 8 foot. It's medium.
I mean, I guess if you're comparing it to a retic, and
compared to giants,
I guess your high end is a retic and your low end is a pygmy.
Pygmy python. You're right. They
somewhere
are
in the middle.
In that medium.
Exactly.
It's like small, medium, which is just across all the other species. Large, 3. Like I got it.
So wow, we're going back in time, right? This goes back to 1829, right? They found 4 pythons on Timor Island, and they were deposited in I think it's the Leiden and the Paris museums to get a description for them. And then in 1837, the first name that was put to them was Python amethinus, which later became known as the scrub python, because I believe that they thought that it was some variant of scrub python. I mean, think about that, right? In 1844, like the tech, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, because
we're sitting here in 2022 going, how did you not know?
How did you not know? Look at these things. I can pull up these pictures on my phone. It's like, oh yeah, well, right. They're going by charcoal drawings or something like that. It's
So then in 1844, there was the 3 that were sent to the Leiden, Museum, was described as Python timorensis. And then the one that was sent to Paris was a single specimen, and that was described as Liasis macula.
What's fun is that you do. This is probably bad that we're doing this now, because then I'm going to go to Hamburg, and I guarantee you, there's going to be like a Papuan python labeled as Australian olive or something like that. Like it's going to be like, have we learned nothing? So
and then there was another one that was described from Lesser Sunda Islands as like I said, they were a geographical variant of scrub pythons.
I think that fits better than a Timor. I mean, the head structure of a Timor versus a Mac. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. But I guess because
we're not scientists.
I know. So then they described there was in 1879 there was a species it was a new species, and it was described as Liasis petersi, and they never that for some reason that never took. And in 1893, it finally became Python timorensis.
It was already Python timorensis. It came back to
Well, they
Python
changed it. They added the I. So I might be saying that wrong. In the very first one,
I don't know. Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's Timorensis. That wasn't just because I spelled it wrong. Which
thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, which I did spell a lot of things.
I mean,
in the outline.
I'm glad you're honest. Yeah.
Okay. So what made it confusing is that they never have been known to inhabit Timor. So
then where the hell did the first ones come from?
Well, this is what I'm saying. It was very confusing because, it's, again, back in the 1800s, I guess we'll cut them some slack for getting it mixed up.
Them no slack. Go to hell. This is why we have problems. This and people putting names of places on crates.
Yeah,
this is why half our problems are.
Yeah, they're just so there is a bit of a story to that as well. We'll get into that later on of where they think that it came from Timor because of a port that they exported out of Timor, the island, and that labeled as locale, kind of like the green tree thing, right? Where it's like it comes out of Merauke. It's everything's Merauke, when it's like, no, that wasn't found anywhere near Merauke.
But there's an airport, right?
So yeah, I mean, they're just an amazing species. They're intricately colored and patterned, highly iridescent. They're just such a cool snake. They're covered with these like light gold splotches and specks, and it just like gradually fades as the posterior until it becomes that uniform dark chocolate brown color at the end. I guess it's to conform with what's coming at the end when you pick them up.
I mean, you don't know which ends. You don't know what's coming or going.
But I did find a little tidbit of information about just as far as David Barker said that there is, if you find forums and old little things as you go, you find this information that's just like, I don't know, people might not care, but I think it's cool. So there's like 3 phenotypes that he was saying. There's like a clean pattern, there's a pixelated pattern, and then there's patternless, which I believe, we'll get into that as well, might be a sister species that Zach actually photographed, and we have the picture of it when he went.
It's on Rinka, isn't it?
Yes, it's on Rinka. Yeah. The cool thing that I did find when I started to look into where they're from and look at maps and all this kind of stuff, all these little islands that we hear of that these Indonesian pythons inhabit, it's like you start to see just how they're all sort of connected, and it's pretty cool.
We should just go and find them. Let's go to Rinka and get them.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie, man. It made me start to think. I was like, I wonder if I could go to Borneo.
How hard would it be to export?
I could go to Borneo with Matt.
How much money would it be to export?
I mean, come on. Matt Minatola, I'm shouting it out to you, man.
Yeah,
you want to go to Borneo in Indonesia? Let's make it happen. I mean, it would be cool to be able to check off some of those Indo pythons off the herp list.
We have to make sure we go to the right place in Indonesia. I know Ari had some trouble with where he went. Let's make sure we don't die.
So like we said, recently DNA work showed that they are very closely related to reticulated python clade. They, I guess up until that point, they were python, and then I think they switched. Didn't they switch to what was the name? It started with an H. I can't remember, but we know them now as Malayo python. So that's the genus that they're in. And I think that's where, much like how I think white lips should be in Bathrochilus with the ring pythons, Timor should be with retics. It really makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to put this little, we're going to talk about this, but for the people watching on YouTube, they can see this little slide of the distribution. Look at this. That's high end, man.
I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. So see what I mean? See, like
all right.
these
So we should go to
Savu,
Komodo. We should go to Savu.
Komodo,
Let's go to Weetar.
Weetar,
Yeah, might as well grab some shit while we're there.
Timor. Watch
Might
these
have
some
got
Maclots.
Timor. Yeah, I mean, we could do that.
Yeah, we could go to Bali and find some retics.
Yeah, where's
You know what I
Roddy
mean?
Island? Yeah, come on.
Roddy Island is right next to Flores. See where I'm pointing right there?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, it's right there.
We can go there. I mean, that's just we can stop at Rinca, get these, and then we can go there. I mean, that's all these. We just need a very large boat. It's fine. I got this.
I don't even know how you would go about getting there, but obviously you can get there somehow.
We need one of those airplanes that lands on water, and we can do this in one weekend.
Yeah. So like we said, there's a lot of species in this area. There's you're going to find scrub pythons and reticulated pythons, Maclot's pythons and Dunn's pythons and water pythons, and it's loaded chock full of all those
Komodo
cool
dragons.
Komodo dragons.
And them.
I mean, and that's another thing. I think I heard this before, but that Komodo dragons actually originated in Australia and went out.
I mean, megalomania is in Australia, and that's just a Komodo dragon the size of a bus. Like it's
yeah,
that's what it was. Like
right.
It was
yeah.
So I don't think it'd be that much of a leap to say that they broke off and got smaller. So yeah.
So the Sundas Islands are this link between the Oriental and the Australasian regions, and home to, like I said, some of the coolest pythons around. So the most reliable records, museum specimens come from the Lesser Sunda island chain to northwest of Timor, and they've reported to be on these other islands like, let's see if I can find it, Salur, Pantar. How do you say that one? Adonara.
I love it.
Yep. Okay, we're going with that. Yeah.
Do you remember when the white lips, like blackface white lips, like they're for a good year, there was just different island locality ones popping up out of nowhere. It's like, where the hell are my island locality Timors? Like, come on.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, well, what is it? The Maclots come from Timor, and then they're also on Rinca.
There's Timor, Roddy Island.
Roddy Island, that's it.
And then I think they're on Weetar. I think Weetar as well, because they're constantly mixed up with Duns. So
really, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past it. That
well, I guess we'll have to do an episode on it.
Please.
Yeah, they grab what? They grab.
I mean, I think they go grab pythons off Weetar and then grab shit off Timor and a couple other places. So I'm pretty sure when they do collections, they just do island hopping. So yeah.
So as you can see in this picture, Zach Baez, he took a trip over to that spot in Indonesia, and he actually saw one of these patternless Timor islands that was on Rinca. And he got a good shot of it. And then I don't know who took this picture, but it's a similar animal.
I mean, I know why Zach couldn't pick it up and throw it in his bag, but I'm also a little upset he didn't. Yeah, so
I mean, that's pretty cool.
God, that's gorgeous. It's weird looking. I mean,
it's like a patternless, I guess.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I like the pattern. Like I almost, it's cool looking. Would I go out of my way to get it? I don't know. I just want more of them. So if I could grab a patternless one to add to the group, sure. So
well, I guess they have to do some DNA test. So there's not a lot of work that's been done on the pythons and from this area. So I think it's probably hard to get to a lot of these spots, And
I think the whole Komodo Island is freaking protected.
Yeah, I think that might be shut down at that point, right?
Yeah.
At this point, right?
I think I don't think they want you taking reptiles off Komodo because they're worried what you're going to take. It's one of those things of like, no. I'm just taking pythons. Really? Are you? Just the pythons? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are these tiny lizards then? I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it's possible that that Timor pythons may be on Timor pythons. See, I'm even doing the same thing.
See,
Lesser soon. I'm going to call them Timorensis. How about that?
just call them
That'll make
Timors.
it.
Just it's so much easier. It's already in your brain.
Yeah, I know, but I want to say it
I
right.
know
You know
it's
what I mean?
fine. Yep.
Max Timor Ronnie's allure no Wetar according to Python. Okay, yeah. He's reading along with it as we're talking. Yeah. So
there you go.
It like I said, it is possible that they may be present on some of the other islands, but because there's not really a whole lot of reptile surveys that have been done in the region, makes it difficult to say. So there is the type locality that was originally of Timorensis is in Kupang, Timor, and even though it's suspected that they don't occur on Timor, this is what I was saying earlier. In the past, there has been extensive collecting of pythons in Timor, right? Primarily for the skin trade, but also for herpetoculture. And retics and maclots occur, and they've been collected from Timor. So the Barkers were talking about how that they've spoken with people and they haven't come across them. And you would think that if they did, that they would get them. So it's like, why would they hide them or whatever?
Right.
Because they're valuable, and they're just trying to feed their families, make a buck, whatever it would be.
I would give them that buck. Like it was just,
yeah.
But you know how that goes. Also, it's I mean, we kind of experienced that a little bit with Stolen World, where it's like they go there and they're like, we're looking for Bolins, and they got everything under the sun until they finally got one, and they said, no, we want this. This is what we want, and that's when they started getting the Bolin eye, because the people in the area maybe they have a different name for the snake, or they don't really know the difference between snakes living in their backyard. They just it's a snake. So yeah.
So Kupang is the largest city on Timor, and like I said, it's the main port.
Okay,
so it's possible that it was collected somewhere
and then brought to Kupang on
and then sent to Europe as the type specimen. So I mean, that makes sense to me, right?
It does, because if it's I'd imagine if you were just trying to do like if you were way back when you're doing import trips or collection trips or something like that, you go to the main port and see what gets brought to you there. So yeah, it makes sense.
I would recommend at this point, right, if you're new to NPR, Morelia Python Radio, and you want to check out a cool episode about some of the stories of how some of these Indo pythons came into captivity, I would suggest that you go find the episode that we did with Cameron. And I know he talked a lot about like Maclots and Duns and Savus and stuff like that, but I can't remember if he talked about Timors. But
I don't know, but I know he definitely talked about Savu, and that was it had to be somewhere on the same thing where it's like, they all have two stories, and they thought they were two different snakes instead of one species. And also it was one of those, well, the boat said it was going to be here on Tuesday, and here it is Friday, still no boat. Like it was that kind of stuff. So that was a good episode.
Yeah, I it's definitely, if you're into this type of stuff, it's definitely one to check out for sure. So, so where are they found? What's their habitat like? They're found in open forest and grasslands in the southeastern islands of Indonesia. So they, I guess, if you wanted to get an idea, I guess we would call it probably paradise. I mean
it's one word for it. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So that's kind of like some of the that's Flores. So it's just this, beautiful islands with these, I don't even know.
It looks like scrub, as well as like
grasslands, mountains, trees.
Grassland, mountain, trees, lots of water.
Yeah.
Lots of nice rock crevices and stuff too.
Sure. Yeah.
Damn, it's pretty.
Well, yeah. So so the southeastern Indonesia bioregion is located in the Australasia. Realm. And it includes those the chain of islands, Lesser Sunda Islands. and yeah, it's they're you would find them in like like deciduous forest.
Mhm.
They would probably inhabit most habitats on the island, but they seem to be strongly associated with this open country, grassland savannas and rolling hills with open woodland.
That makes
Um,
sense with their pattern. I mean, kind of a
yeah,
thing to kinda I imagine they're pretty good at hiding in that kinda scrub brush because it almost looks like they have a camouflage kind of a pattern
yeah.
too, like, almost like,
I guess that pixelated pattern
yeah,
probably like breaks up in
breaks it
the
up. Mhm.
in the
If it's curled
scrub.
up in the tree or 2 or also with, light coming through the leaves, I bet you it disappears.
So interestingly enough, I'm curious to see what your experience has been with this. They
Yeah.
don't really have strong prehensile tails, but
No.
they are quite arboreal in my
Holy crap,
experience.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I gave them, both of mine or my larger ones, my younger ones will soon have these gauges when they get a little bit bigger.
Right.
Um, they have like, I think my mother had a peach tree that fell down in her backyard, so I cut that up. So they literally have like giant limbs that sit and almost like spiderweb down so they can lay across these trees because that's where they constantly are. They like being up high and they like being able to hunt from up high.
So have you experienced like say the chondro style perching, or is it more of like what we saw that Darwin carpet or a tree
It
boa type of thing where it's like multiple coils are on different
Not really.
perches?
It's
No?
not really those kind of perches, but it's definitely like if you go up to the picture that Zach had, the one below it, where it's kind of laid out on the branch,
Okay.
um, flat almost like that. Yeah. So they'll do that where the clears like they have a clear anchor point, but then the rest of their bodies kind of what's the picture down below, like below that one? That like
So
that's
they're
really what
just
they
kind
do.
of wrapped around it. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
they
Yeah.
have a point where they're holding on, but then the rest of them is just kinda splayed out. They don't really compact themselves like a chondro or anything like that. So what they would do is they would kinda lay across and then they'd maybe dangle a head down behind like underneath the branch if they were hunting, or like they'd go from laying like that to when I open the door, now they're rocketing forward and they're using it as like a pivot point, and they'll bite their food and throw a couple coils around it, but they'll still have that back end wrapped around the tree branch.
Gotcha.
So
Maybe the only thing that pops into my head is maybe they're perching because they're trying to get off the ground so they don't get eaten by a Komodo
about
dragon.
to say,
Like,
it's all fine and dandy being an 8-foot python, but when
right,
there's like a 12-foot lizard running around, it's time to get up high,
right.
So I would also say that I imagine them a lot like some of my other heavier bodied snakes who try to perch, where it's like they need such a large anchored tree limb that their body can't really splay all out or get so conformed like say a chondro would.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the interesting thing about this area is there's
Mm.
not a lot of movement in temperature. Um, you can look at this. So for people that are listening, I
So
have some charts on the screen that I took from WeatherSpark,
mhm.
and basically what we're looking at is lows of 72 and highs of 88. Right,
I'll write that down. Yeah, well, that actually is what I dropped them to is
and
72.
you look at that little dip right
Mm.
there around August.
It's the lowest I get.
It's pretty much it. So I don't know if temperature would be
A
um
good thing for them.
well, I don't know. I never got
It
to the point where I'm breeding them, but the Barker, we'll get into that too, what the Barkers
Mhm.
did, but I think that they may be. So we'll go on to the next
I
slide,
mean, I
which
like
would
that
be
because then my
well,
idea would be to keep them at an 88 hotspot and a 74 or 77 low. And then when winter comes, drop them to as low as 74, let them ride. And then for maybe like a week or two, drop them to 72 and then spike them back up.
see, I think that they may be more geared towards precipitation or food.
Monsoonish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Barkers did talk about feeding as part of their
I also know that
breeding
the guy who
regimen.
does gourmet rodent has always talked about how with Timor's when he gets them ready, he just pounds the females to the point where they almost regurge.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for an island species that only gets food at a certain amount of time. Like, say, when there's a migration or something else is happening, that they'll
Right.
eat to the point where they gorge, and then they might not eat the rest of the year. So,
Yeah. And see, the wheels are turning. The wheels are turning.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you look at the average hourly temperature, the hottest part of the day is pretty much from 12 o'clock till 6 p.m.
Okay.
It's warm in the evening, and it gets comfortable probably overnight into, I think it starts to warm up. What does it look like on that chart? Maybe like 8-9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It'll start to go up. And it seems that it's really only hot from, and again, this is going off of data from I think it was Komodo Rinka area, right?
Okay.
And the thing with this is, like, I want to throw this out there, right? Because as we know from herping, if anybody's been herping, just because the weather data says that it's, what did it say?
Just because the weather data says 88, doesn't mean that's where you're going to find the python. Yeah,
correct. They may be trying to get away from that heat during the day or whatever the case would be, but
or they'll come out and spend maybe 5 whole minutes in that 88 degrees,
warm up, and then
the cave that's at 73. Yeah,
right, exactly. Now you can see why I think that maybe the idea with them is more of precipitation.
So it's dry from April. It goes down, and all the way to November.
Yeah.
Then you get a shit ton of rain, January to February.
Right. So you have more of a chance of that it's going to rain as you go through. So it's
So I wonder if you did, like, we're trying to get this to work for PA world.
Right.
If you do the cool down and the temp drop, and then when you warm up, you pretty much just mist inside their cages like every day for like almost a month straight.
Yeah. So this area is a tropical wet and dry climate. So the ecoregion has a tropical and wet, dry climate type of thing. The islands are the driest. These islands are the driest in Indonesia, with an average of 800 to 1350 millimeters annually. So rainfall is, like I said, is strongly seasonal, as we saw on that slide, falling mostly from December to March. That's the rainy season, right? The driest months are June through September, and it's basically a tropical savanna climate. Tends to either see less overall rainfall than a tropical monsoon climate, or have a more pronounced dry season. So maybe.
So when do you think breeding would be?
Well, that's the thing.
I think it'd be beginning of that, wouldn't it?
The only data we have as far as eggs go, it's only in captivity. There's not really anything that shows anything in the wild. From what I could find.
There's no way a female's going to drop eggs. Let's go by Darwin then. There's no way a female's going to drop eggs right before the dry season. That'd be suicide.
Yeah, no, I would think
so. It has to be the beginning and middle of the rainy season.
I would think that they would start to kick into breeding mode once the rains started.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my thought.
So I bring them up from winter. I bring them up from the spike, and then you douse their cages.
I suppose, maybe.
I mean, I know people have done this with cobras.
I don't even necessarily know if it's the wetness as much as the pressure changes, right? So,
which is why you would do it. When would you do it? You'd probably do it in freaking.
Probably want to do it in April, right?
Yeah, I was about to say you probably want to do it in April, and there's a shit ton of storms running through.
Right. And with climate change, everything has changed for us, and that
right. And then in which case, like, what do you even bring them down for a winter because the spikes are just so low? Do you just keep them at that constant and keep feeding them, and then douse them with the rain, and then give them that 72 drop before you start dropping them with the rain?
Yeah, I don't know.
This will take most, if not all, of my cunning.
Yeah.
So,
So here's another. I'm
yeah,
gonna share another picture of
making me
what
think
one of
shit.
the islands look like. This would
Yeah,
be
okay.
lots of trees.
They could be anywhere. They could be up here by the water. They could be
Yeah.
up top of that mountain. Like it's.
Yeah. So
Jesus.
then there's not really a whole lot of movement when it comes to, well, I'm going to add this up here so you can look at some more slides of the monthly rainfall. You can see there where it's going on. So basically in January, so what is it? You would say it would start to kick in September, and it slowly goes up to from September to about April, and then it starts to go down. Driest months look like July and August, where they have like 0.2 inches of rainfall. Humidity, not a lot going on there. You don't. I mean,
yeah, no, it's dry. It's dry as hell, and then it spikes.
Yeah, you can see where it's
they're there.
It's 100% humidity. So maybe humidity might be a cycle as well.
I need to get them out of these wood cages, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do this.
Here in Pennsylvania, that's not a problem, but the humidity now, I mean, it's got to be. I think it's like 80% humidity, and the thing is, right, with this stuff is that we're talking about what happens in their environment, right? So, you sort of have to in my opinion, right, to breed these hard to breed species is like to even get you in the ballpark to start the process would be to sort of look at how first of all, trying to figure out what is that trigger, right? We've talked about it multiple times where there's probably 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe, who knows, the cosmic octopus, that whole thing, triggers that could happen. If you hit 4 of them, then you're going to have success.
Then you're going to get
if
eggs,
you hit 2 of them, then you're not going to have success. But you need, and again, I'm just throwing out numbers, not saying that's true or just trying to give an example. Anyway, humidity might be one that cycles. It's definitely not light cycles. You can see there, it's like pretty much, but the Barkers did do some light cycling and whatnot. To me, I would think it was trying to figure out like what, with this information, applying it to your reptile room, because it's going to change because the Barkers lived in Texas. Yeah. So what they did is going to be completely different than what we would do, say, up here in the Northeast, as opposed to, say, what Justin or Rob would do out in Utah or Colorado, or Chuck out in California. All those things could come into play to change breeding.
There's a lot of different things that you could like, and you're right. And it also depends on what your animal is looking into in the queue, because what might get my animal to breed might not get your animal to breed. So
okay, so now we're going to get into,
I think this is why people get one off with a lot of Indonesian species, because you just happen to be, maybe you just happen to keep them in a room and there happen to be a shit ton of thunderstorms that one year and they happen to be together at this right time. And,
well, I would dare say that probably, besides the Barkers, the one person that comes to mind when I think of somebody that's been successful with Indonesian pythons is Ryan Young. And the thing that I always take from Ryan is just about being consistent with whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
And set up a consistency so that the animal settles in and,
and then watch. Yeah. And if you're not, you might not be paying attention because all your other pythons have already.
Yeah. You look
jumbled up, swollen, laid eggs and the whatever. And then you've like, well, maybe next year, and you've parted them and you fed them and you don't catch her when she swells up like a balloon.
Right. So we're going to get into the paper now, what the Barkers sort of did. So I will say the name of this paper is
Breeding Team Wars for Dummies.
No, it's called Taxonomic History, Distribution, Husbandry, and Captive Reproduction.
Cool.
So we're going to talk about how they set them up, right? So remember, they're in Texas, right? Just keep that in the back of your mind, right? So they talked about their approach and how they kept them in captivity. When it came to raising up juveniles, they didn't say anything stood out to them as strange or weird than any other pythons that they worked with,
they eat.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So they were set up individually. They used aspen bedding as a substrate. They had a water
Okay.
bowl, hide box. I would say the only thing that I would add to that would be perching, some type of perching, whether it's a 3D printed perch that I
would
think
do
that
that
would probably be
definitely for
what I would
babies.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
For babies, 100%. I've never had.
Stat sig.
Stop it. I've never had babies. Usually the youngest one I think I had was a 2-year-old. One of the time I got it. So
I had babies.
yeah, Rob did all the hard part. Like you and Rob did all the hard shit. Like you got
Yeah.
both of you raised them, and then I got them when they were
Yeah.
2 years old.
You're welcome.
So it was like I did whatever. The way I do it is I drop it off with one of you guys, and then you bring it back to me. Like no.
Yeah.
So but I would not treat them any different. I like the idea of perching. I would also say tubes, because my juvenile pair really loved the cardboard tube
That's the
that
greatest,
my
man.
butcher paper came in.
Yeah.
And they would cram themselves into that. They've gotten bigger now, and they prefer their hide boxes over the tubes now, because
Sure.
I guess they don't cram themselves in it.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that's the only other difference I would do with that. But maybe even some type of humidity hide, because they kind of fall in the same of retics, white lips, ring pythons, where if the humidity isn't right, if they're not hydrated enough, they're going to shed like crap. So
yeah, their skin is
soft when they're
right?
young.
Yeah.
And definitely a little bit different than several of the other species that I have. So
retics have the same feel to them, in my
Mhm.
experience, from what I've worked with as far as retics go. But yeah, it's not quite as like it's not quite as soft as like Apodura, but it's definitely I guess it's similar to white lips, right? A little bit.
Kind of like it's weird, but you can kind of sit there and be like, they're kind of like in between a white lip and a scrub.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what does a Timor feel like? A Timor. Like
I guess with a scrub, the scales are more pronounced, right?
Yeah, and baby scrubs are so fragile with their skin. You kind of almost get that same feeling when it comes to Timors with that kind of stuff. But my guys, when they did shed, they'd only have maybe 1 or 2 pieces stuck. They're not like my retic, where it's like, now I have to soak you for a day and a half. And that just goes, I think, to size. They can curl up in water bins. She can't. So
gotcha. So the Barkers did initiate a light cycle. And interestingly, whether this matters or not, they used the summer solstice to sort of start a 15 hours light and then 9 hours dark.
15-hour light?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then in the winter,
what of the moon cycles?
Well, I didn't get into the moon cycles.
God damn it! Now we'll never know.
Although when I was looking at Weather Spark, I was like, I saw the moon cycle. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna put.
No, we don't need that. No, no,
I'm not gonna do this. I gotta slowly edge Owen into this
I can't
type
bring him
of
into
show.
this that hard. Yeah.
And then in the winter they changed it to 9 and 15, so they reversed it. So
15 hours of dark.
No, yeah, well, 15 hours of dark, yes, during the winter, yes. And you think about it, right? It gets dark at 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty much.
I usually just do 12 and 12, and that's just kind of.
I guess you could do 12 and 12 because, as you see, that's sort of what they're experiencing in the wild. I don't know what the.
It's also.
Maybe the Barkers had other species of python. Well, obviously they had other
don't
species
know
of python,
shit.
but maybe they had more, pythons that were more sensitive to that, so that, or maybe that's just what they did and they just stuck with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if it works, who cares?
Right.
I don't know.
I was quite surprised that their temperatures that they used, though.
Go ahead.
So, their daytime temps. Okay. Now remember. This is back in the 90s, right? Okay. So it's not, they bred them in 95. So this is somewhere between, I think they got theirs in 90, but I have that in notes later on. Anyway, So the summertime highs were 87 to 93,
Okay.
31 to 34 Celsius, 87 to 93 Fahrenheit.
What was the highs?
Was the highs. And I don't know. This is something that I guess maybe I could have messaged Dave or Tracy on and asked them, but I don't know. I know that they were fans of the set temperature regime. You know, like they sort of did like what do you call it? They did the 80 degree, 82 degree type of thing.
Right.
You know, just like the ambient heat type of deal.
Right. Yeah. The because that was I know I talked about this a few times with a couple of people who were telling me that certain keepers do keep Timors at room temp, and after seeing their temperature kind of almost flatline with a little bit of dips in and out for 72 to 74 lows and stuff like that, I could see how you could get away with keeping them at room temperature. But yeah,
so well, I guess at this actually, I'm going to take this back because I'm looking at my thing. So let's talk about the wintertime lows real quick.
Okay.
So wintertime, it got down to 78 to 84, right? That's sort of the swing that they were doing.
Yeah, that's in that swing that we talked about. Yeah.
Which is kind of like what we would keep, what I keep pythons at normally.
Those are the carpet summer temps. What?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's normal. So I don't know if these temps are what I would go with necessarily with the species, but this is what they did. So
this is what they did, and it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. So 20% of the cage floor was heated 2 to 4 degrees hotter
than the cage
Celsius.
Itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're looking at like a 95 hotspot.
All right.
There wasn't really intense. Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot of so a couple things come to mind. One, back in the 90s, remember that was the typical way you kept a python, right? 90 degree hot 90 spot,
degree, yeah,
85 degree, yeah, that's sort of the way.
85 degree cool spot.
Right? I mean, how many times were you told?
No escape. All right, yeah.
Yeah. It's like yeah, this is what it's going to be. So basically they turn the heat off at night during the hottest times of the year when temps would exceed 93. I guess they had it set up that it would turn off automatically. So,
okay.
And they also turn the heat off at the coldest part of the year, which is basically the first week of January to mid-February, they said. So that's sort of their temp regime that they would use.
So Ned, when you have something that's so, when you have temperatures that are so much different than say other people would keep them at initially, do you think it's more along the lines of that the barkers set them up like this and kept them like this and then consistently kept them like this and then got them to breed? Is it one of those like consistency
I think so.
Is important to this?
Yeah, I think so. I think that possibly if the barkers were to breed them today, I think they would probably use a little bit lower temperatures.
I think so too.
Or maybe a hot spot.
Right.
And a lower ambient temperature.
Right. And it also goes down to like how many did they have?
What did they have? Forget. They had, I think, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3.5.
3.5. And how many did they get to breed?
3 females.
Okay. That's way better than I was expecting. I mean, that's awesome. But you almost think of it's more along the lines of like they got used to it, they got into it. That was their prep thing, and maybe they got luckier with one, and then it took a while for one of the other ones to catch up. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff.
So I don't know if you've experienced this.
I experienced everything,
and the ones that I had, I kind of grew up. So they weren't really in anything other than like a rack type of thing for me, right? And I kept them just like I kept my carpets, 85 hot spot, 78 to 80 ambient type of deal. That's sort of what they were doing. And then they did fine. I had no problems shedding, no problems with any of that stuff. Everything was good. They ate with no issues and all good. So I don't know if this is just so me personally, if I was doing this, I would probably not go with those temps so high. But
I would not.
I would pay attention to the snake, right? If the
Yes.
snake is constantly on the hot spot,
something wrong.
then maybe I would bump it up a bit.
Right.
If it's constantly trying to get away from the hot spot, I would probably back it off.
Back it off. Right. Exactly.
The one thing that the Barkers did talk about is how active they were.
Yes.
So they had a huge cage,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so, you know, maybe that had to do with the temperatures. So maybe like the spots that they were checking were that temperature, and there was spots in the cage that were cooler to where they could get to, you know, who knows, you know, but that is one thing that they did talk about quite in depth about how active they were. And I didn't get to experience that per se because mine were young and they were in tubs. So I didn't necessarily see that. I don't know if you see that from your adults. Do you?
Yes, they are. It's one of those, they track the sun. So the sun comes in a certain way. And they used to go out on their branches and just kind of chill right out where the sun was coming in. And then they'd bask, and then they'd be up high. They'd be in it. They were always in a different spot, especially when I opened up the bridge and gave them the full 12-foot cage. Because at one point, like, you know, I talked about this before, one night they're both together, curled up under the heat. The next day, he's on the cool side of his cage, which means he went through the bridge. The next day they've swapped cages, then they're curled up again together, but they're in his cage. So they're always all over the place, especially at nighttime, and especially when the sun is hitting certain parts of their cage. It's cool.
So you have the actual sun that comes in at certain spots in
at certain spots, and they'll come and check it out. Like,
where are they, in the bar area?
They're in the male that I had, the larger pair was out in the bar area. Their cage is now full of black-faced white lips. The male,
okay, fair enough.
The male has been regulated to another 6-foot cage, off to the side. He's above my gold-faced white lips for now.
Okay.
The sun comes in through that door and hits his cage, and he'll definitely, like today, I was out down there doing stuff, and the sun was coming in as it was setting, and he was poking out of his hide, just kind of laying a little bit where the sun was coming in.
Gotcha.
So he still uses that whole 6-foot cage. I'm waiting a little bit longer, and then we're gonna have to have some weird come to Jesus moment of what we're gonna do with 3 adult team horse and cage space. So
okay.
this may be the moment that we have to come to grips with do we keep the Crebo when Timor pythons need Crebo cages? So
bye-bye Colubrid.
Bye-bye Crebo.
Bye-bye.
This is why I'm still a python guy as much as people, because it's like, listen, call your bread, get the fuck out.
I will punch, you know, like you know, when you have one of those discount cards or whatever, and they punch a hole in it when you want it. I've just punched your Python card, my
goddamn
friends.
right.
You're
good.
It's
you know, hopefully we're not in this house by then, and I can just be like, well, looks like I need a bigger snake room. Darn it. Like it, no. But I
see your plan. I see your devilish plan. You have all these snakes, and you're like, well, I either get rid of them, or I have to.
She is no fucking help. None. Because you know what she said to me last night? She's like, why don't you have diamond pythons? I'm like, well, Eric, when did you get here? Like, it's
yes, I love it. Yeah, why don't you have diamond pythons?
Because you haven't bred them yet.
Okay.
That's the answer I gave
forgot.
her. I'm like, because I'm waiting for Eric. How about that? So
yeah, I think between the two of us, we pretty much have every python covered, right? Almost, kind of.
I mean, I got stuff here that I'm not like that I sell at the pair, but yeah, it's here.
Yes.
So
well, we're working on it.
Oh, and that's all right. I'm chomping at the bit because Brett got those Angolans, and I'm like, I see a boy.
Yeah, so. I was thinking about that the other day when I was reading the Angolan thing. I was like, oh man, now I'm gonna have to get some back from Owen when he produces them, because they're such cool snakes. Like, damn it.
God
damn your plan of Australia
that was my
pythons
plan all
only.
along. I gotta get these snakes over here so that you can be like, you know what? I think I need a pair of those. Yes, you do. I think I need a diamond python though. So yeah,
it's perfect.
Always goes. Yep.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about feeding, right? So,
they're monsters.
This is what the Barkers did. They for the juveniles, they fed live 6 to 8 week old mice. They moved them on to dead mice within a few months, and they sort of did what I used to do with scrub pythons quite a lot, especially Halmahares. is I'd just leave the prey in the cage and they would come and get it.
Really?
Yep. That's sort of what I did with my babies too. But
Mine-
I think as adults, that sort of changes. Mind you, are yours are what? Wild caught, captive born and bred?
My
Long
all
time?
of mine are wild caught.
All wild
Yeah,
caught.
all
Okay.
wild caught. The ones from Rob came in super young.
Yes.
So could they have been farm bred? Probably.
Right.
So I know Rob has had them for the longest time with that,
Yes.
or he got them super young. My male or my adult pair, they were wild caught from Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got because it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean I had a bunch at one point. I can't remember.
Yeah,
who
I got
who
you.
came from where. I think they all at one point had come from Joe, but I got them through various people.
I got you.
Chris. Yeah, it was
Gotcha. Okay, so in the wild, they're reported to eat mammals and birds. It's kind of like,
and they're reported to eat those as well in captivity. Because
yes. I think when the Barkers got them to about 3 years old, they moved them to small, fresh killed rats. Again, they laid it in the cage. I'm curious to see, because you're saying yours were so
voracious.
Voracious. They were reluctant to feed on rats, and they said something about it was in '94. They stumbled upon the fact that all of their Timorensis fed readily on hamsters. They only fed on a certain number of rats, and then they would stop feeding. So the issue that they were having is, and this is why I was saying earlier in the show that we would get into about what they did as far as food, is that they were having trouble with getting the female to size to breed. But when they started to introduce the hamsters, they could get them to eat more. And with that extra food, they were able to breed them in the winter of '94 because they had more body weight than the year that they did before.
That's so weird.
Have you experienced anything like that?
No, mine will eat anything. I can put a shoe in there, and they'd probably eat it. My male's on extra large rats. My large boy, and then my two younger ones are on medium rats, and I actually opened my younger male's bin because he's in a tub, because I know that Rob had tried moving them over to cages when they were with him and they had stopped eating. Right. So I'm trying to get them like as big as humanly possible before I move them into cages. I went to open my boy's bin and he nailed my hand right around here. And he hit it so hard I bruised.
Oh, really?
The entire hand. Yeah. I'm like, you dick.
Wow.
And then after he bit me and let go, he still took the rat. And I'm like, all right, fine. Like,
wow.
They're on point.
Yeah, look at that beauty.
God damn it. I'm sitting there like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I can't go downstairs and look at three of them. Like, it's
such cool snakes, man.
They are. Cool snakes. Really, really are. And that's the problem, is I want to sit here and I'm like, well, I could talk to Ryan. He'd probably send me a girl or let me buy a girl. And I also need a ring python from Ryan. And, I also could grab another white. I know we can't talk to Ryan. Like, we can't call Ryan. Ryan's dangerous. So,
just on a side note, the black outline of their head scales.
I love it. That's my favorite part.
Is so cool, man.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. If you just look up, you'll probably have to look up Timor python, but if you look up lesser Sundas python, you'll probably find them as well. But I did. But just that head, man, is just, it's intense.
I love it. I like I said, if I could set up a room, I'd have 16 of them. So yep.
So I mean, that was sort of what they said as far as feeding goes, and then I guess we'll get into the breeding part of it and what they did. So some of the history of them being bred in captivity. The first recorded breeding of the species was in 1975 at the Dallas Zoo. They laid the clutch in June, and the hatchlings pipped in September. Interestingly, the Blue Bible had the incubation was 83 days at an incubation temperature of 84 degrees, which
Jesus.
now we know to be a little too low. So I don't know. Sometimes I think we overthink that whole egg situation, because when I was reading this, I'm thinking like, well, Owen didn't plug his incubator in and he hatched carpet python eggs, and they put that at 84 degrees and they still hatched. It just took longer. So
I mean, they were those eggs were fluctuating between 82 and whatever the fuck the room was doing. Yeah. So and they still hatched. It just took a very long time.
Right. So the second reported breeding was by Don Hamper, who is a reptile breeder, probably well known. And he had where they laid in April and they pipped in July. So this is why I'm saying, I'm just saying, if I was breeding them, this is when I would breed them, because I think those storms and those pressure fronts that come in and all that, I think gets them going, man. That would be my approach. But
I want to say that that's kind of when Ryan got his, right? Was that in April or?
I think so.
Close to, yeah.
So he incubated them at 90 degrees, which I would say is too high. But he did that for 64 days and they hatched. And reportedly his pair that he had was 15 years old, which is kind of crazy.
Jesus.
And then came the Barkers, who did it in 95. So this is sort of the story of what they had. So they already had two males that they picked up from a reptile dealer. Who knows? One of the Lizard King people or
somebody. Yeah, I mean, he mentions a Timor in the book because they're like, there's a scrub python here. It gets a Timor dickhead. Like, okay, yeah. So there's that.
So they acquired 3.5 juveniles in 1990. They were only a few months old, and I think that this is kind of common knowledge. But if you're going to be working with wild caught pythons, or probably wild caught snakes in general, but colubrids they're sort of out of my wheelhouse, so I don't really know if they follow the same thing. But you got to get them as young as possible.
You do.
You know what I mean? Like you really do. It's really difficult to establish wild caught adults pythons. I tried very with IJs hard. And I couldn't do it, man. I failed terribly.
I love it because you and I both recognize it's very hard, and you have a better chance of seeing, you have a better chance of seeing Bigfoot than you do of actually getting an animal to breed that way.
Yeah.
The mother of my white lips is a wild caught adult. And I'm like, I don't understand. You shouldn't be like,
Well, this is why I always try to pick your brain about like if you're changing things up. And then like I think from what I get from you is just like, I think the whole reptile thing is all about patience, right? It's just
really
patience on so many levels, right? It's patience for that animal that you want to become available. It's patience for it to get it to eat. It's patience for it to get it to acclimate to what you're doing. It's patience for it to breed. It's patience for the eggs to come. I mean, just on it's patience with the people you're selling the snakes to.
It's patience not to strangle the baby because it won't eat. Like,
I mean, come on. It's just on every level. It's just about patience.
So Ryan got his eggs April 12th.
Well, there you go.
Shit. All right. That's it then.
You're doing it wrong.
All right. Has to do it.
So back on track. The Barkers, they already had those two males, blah, 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 blah. One of those males did die in 93. So they had, the females were divided into three categories, right? They had these two larger females, the bigger females, and they had two intermediate females. And then they had one female that was noticeably smaller. Like I said earlier, they noted that they were extremely active snakes. They would crawl around for hours around their cage, and that's why they kept them in these large cages for sure. They said that they had difficulty putting like I said, weight on them, so that they were trying to breed. They could have bred them, I think, the year before, but because they couldn't get them to eat the food, the rats or whatever, they again, which I mean, these are all tricks of the trade that I guess at the time they were just sort of throwing Jello at the wall.
Sometimes you got to throw Jello at the wall and see
Yeah.
what sticks, and then you have a good jumping off point.
I mean, I don't think there's any hamsters in Indonesia. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't believe there are, but who knows? There could be something.
Where do
that is
hamsters come from?
Who knows? Who cares?
Like, okay. All right, we'll move on.
It's like, have you ever watched a documentary on wild guinea pigs? Like, it can't be that interesting. Like, it's
so anyway, they tried a different food source. Obviously, it took off for whatever reason. And you know, they were able to get them to Petco. Yeah, right.
There you go.
There you go,
they
Alex.
come from Petco. They're native to Petco. Yep.
You know, they appeared to be, so again, noting because of the just the amount of cruising that they did constantly, they appeared to be healthy, but I guess they were burning all these calories as they were cruising the cage.
Yeah, maybe the Timors realized that hamsters are just horrible creatures. I mean, they are the worst.
They're just trying to kill them.
They are horrible creatures. They eat their own young for no goddamn reason.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They said that most specimens that they dealt with, they were very alert and nervous animals, which is, you know,
tracks.
Yep. I don't know why they're so nervous. I guess,
but predators. I also don't know why. Like that's just something you have to deal with. Like I remembered when I got the Timors for the first time, that there was somebody asking on Facebook of how to tame down a Timor python, and I said I just do no contact. Yeah. And somebody said, well, I hold them until they give in. And then I'm like, why would you do such a thing?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just need to understand that it's going to be a nervous python. And if you don't want a nervous python, then you need to go get a horribly inbred Burmese python.
Right.
Like, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Like maybe Timors aren't what's for you. So yeah.
Again, this is sort of when I've said it multiple times, just some species suck, right? You know, and this is like one of those things. But
that's one of this is what willing against them.
Right. If you're willing to deal with this, then
cool. Yeah,
cool.
You can have a Timor python.
Right.
It will run away from you, it'll piss on you, and it'll musk on you, and it'll bite you.
So it seems that for the most part, from what was observed, that they seem to like to flee rather than bite. I never really got bit by them. I don't think that they were like, the python that I got bit by the most is a ball python.
Ball python, right? So, exactly. I know. I don't know. The only time I've ever been bit, it was food bites. Either I was doing, my hand was in the wrong place, or they were coming for the food. And
is that the black and blue one?
Yeah.
Food bites will do that.
Yeah. So I would say those are that. Most of the other times when it came to them, they would much rather run, but the second you touch them, they start leaking out of their back end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that.
Experience the same thing. Yep.
Yep.
Which I'm kind of with, I know Rob says this too. The Schwees, I don't know. It just,
I don't care.
I'd rather have the Schwees than the bite. You know what I mean?
Bleeding. Yeah,
I'll take the Schwees any day.
It depends on the snake. It depends on the species. Like,
well, those colubrid Schwees is
exactly.
Just
like, listen.
But python Schwees is not that bad, in my experience.
Melissa had to help me with the my Chinese king rat pushed its door clean and the tracks fell off and it escaped. And we found her. And just she just broke the glass and then stayed in her cage, which was awesome. So I had to remove her. Of course, there's glass all over the floor, and Melissa's helping me right before she goes to work. And of course, the Chinese king rat, being a Chinese king rat, just mushed all down Melissa's arm. So yeah, squeezed right before she went to work.
Ooh,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. May have gotten in trouble, but anyway,
you're on the shit list.
I am.
All right. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the breeding, right? So they fed heavily into the fall. Right?
Got it.
So feeding heavily.
They
stopped the third week of November.
November.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Then they put the largest males and females together in December.
Mm-hmm.
And they were left together until the last week of February. So they didn't take them apart. They just let them be together.
Okay.
Probably the Dr. Julander's approach, just sort of like, put them in there, let them do their thing, take them out, when you got eggs, or when
When the female
she
is laying
ovulated.
inverted, you're
Yes,
good. Yeah.
Yes, pull the male. But yeah. So, and they only. This is interesting.
Mhm.
Again, because of such wild caught stuff, all this stuff.
Mhm.
Cages were only open twice a week to observe the males and change the water.
That
They
makes
didn't want to
sense.
disturb them. They also didn't see any copulation. So they
Well, I
didn't get
mean,
to really look at that, but they sort of left them alone.
but some secretive animals that are only active at night, you're not going to watch the snake all the way to 2 a.m. in the morning. Like,
So I
how
would
many eggs have
almost
you
wonder.
gotten from no copulations?
Yeah, I would almost wonder if they would, if I think of David Means when he used to have those,
The
what was it, like
neodysia?
the pegboard on
Oh,
front of
yeah.
the cages
Yeah.
to sort of give them some privacy.
Yeah.
Or I think of Chris down in Florida,
Yeah.
Mystic Reptiles, when he
Yeah.
would do half of his cage like that so that they could get behind that and you
Yeah,
could
and
see
hide.
them. And then the other half was sort of open. I don't know, just some ideas if
Oh,
you're.
dude, there's those old neodysia cages. They didn't even have, some of them didn't even have glass. They were just vented holes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. And then at the end of February, the four of the females had large follicles. The two largest females ovulated March 1st and March 5th. They said that they had mid-body swelling that lasted about 12 hours. The smaller female, the ovulation wasn't observed, and she reabsorbed her follicles.
How big was their smallest female? Does it say?
It didn't say. They didn't put any kind of weight on it or anything like that.
I got to figure out if I'm 2 years away or 1 year away.
I think it's more about the time, right? 5 years is sort of when they did it. So they got him in 90 and they bred him in 95. So you're looking at like 5 years of captivity.
But I also think that people get pythons too big. That's a constant
100%.
thing. Yeah. Just because Timor pythons can get 8 feet long does not mean every single fucking Timor python needs to be 8 feet long.
Right. So the small female, she didn't ovulate and she laid infertile eggs in April 15th. Food was offered the first week of March. All males ate, smaller female ate, but the other females did not eat. Probably because they were.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good sign.
On the track, So, well, at March they would be grabbing at that point, right? Yeah. So, all right. Then that's pretty much it. That's what they did. That's how they bred them.
Okay.
Seems kind of simple, straightforward, or whatever. But
well, I mean,
there's probably more that's going underneath.
Simple, straightforward. But
under
if you
the scales,
run that through them, like if that's what you do for them every year, and that's the problem is you got to set that up.
Yeah.
And let's say I'm 2 years away. I kind of want to get my Timors into cages so I can start cycling them through this. Even when they get bigger and get out to the bigger cages, nothing changes. It just is a larger cage, same temp, same everything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So incubation wise, they used slightly damp vermiculite. Temperatures were 31 to 32 Celsius, 87 to 89 Fahrenheit.
Perfect.
Typical Python stuff.
Yep.
Time was 60 days. Came out well formed. They shed within 2 weeks after hatching. Feeding trials began 4 weeks after shedding. They offered frozen thawed 3 to 4 week old mice, placed them in cages in the late afternoon or early evening, and they all fed.
Cool.
So, let's see some stats as far as the breeding. So we're looking at 22 to 25 days from ovulation to pre-lay shed. You're looking at 27 days from pre-lay to egg laying and 60 days for the incubation time. It seems that they have about 4 to 8 eggs per clutch, and the babies are big, 65 to 80 grams.
Big babies. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think I've been spoiled on carpet python babies.
yeah, I know,
Like,
20 grams.
dude, like I'm hatching freaking these pine snake babies, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, this thing is fucking huge. It's the
Yeah,
size of my yearling carpets.
I
Oh
know.
my god! Oh right, yeah, different species. Like it's just like one of those things where it's just
I'm
baby
gonna have
like the carpets are the smallest shits I'm hatching this year.
right.
Well, like corn snakes, yeah.
All right,
So
you're gonna talk about your Timors for a minute. I have
cool.
to step away for.
Cool. I mean, I am gonna try with mine to do that. I definitely think they're more of an active species. I don't know if I'm gonna want to run through two males to one female. I do have that option. But I think I'd much rather just kind of pick a boy and try to see if I can get that male to breed with her. I might try to swap out the males, but I definitely don't want to do a breeding ball where it's like two males in one cage. Um, I noticed they didn't say anything about combat or anything with the Timor, so I'm not sure if that's an option as well. I will definitely try to push that up there as far as food cycling and then humidity cycling. I know Chris used to do a monsoon thing with his monocle cobras. So that does kind of make sense to me that they would kind of have that same kind of thing there. Um, as far as the rest of it goes, I don't really do too much as differently as far as keeping wise for them as far as temperatures or anything like that. It's not really even that drastic. The younger ones are in the same kind of rack system that I have. Like carpets are in there, and then also my gold-faced white-lipped male is in there. So it's not really like there's anything too crazy in that. So um I don't think I would go too far as with that. And they don't seem to be too they seem to do fine in the bin as well, too. So
What is babies?
yeah, youngsters. I mean, my guys are sub-adults and they do well in 41 quarts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this would be one of those things, right? Where
Mm.
again, where in herpetoculture today, you have, the anti-rack people, you have the rack people, I think this is one of those situations where
Mm.
somebody, when Rob had them
Hmm.
and, he tried to move them up to a cage and they didn't take to a cage. So he moved them back to sort of get them, to keep them going. So
Hmm.
I think sometimes when you're dealing with wild caught stuff, I think that you sort of have to set them up in a way to where they do have some of those, for lack of a better word, creature comforts of what they're used to. But I
Yeah.
also think you need to set it up in a way so that you can efficiently and effectively, maintenance the cage and them without creating undue stress.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it, with wild caught animals, you might take a step forward and then have to take three backwards
Yeah.
just because that's just the way the animal's going to go. You cannot effectively move them into something and then have them shut down completely because then it's not good for the animal. You have to step backwards. And that, dude, sometimes those things can change just by moving to a different cage altogether or moving to a different place or changing
Right.
owners. It's like we always talk about consistency and this, that, and the other thing. It's like I got my white lip female that bred for me 2 years before she actually bred for me, but she
Uh-huh.
was an adult female when I got her. So it was putting her through those things and not changing anything
Right.
is what gets you there. So, the younger Timors that I have, I want to get them into cages and get them through what temperatures I would set them up at because it's not really the male that I'm pushing for.
Mhm.
Because I think boys, we there's a reason that the weird hard to breed species males end up breeding with something else because it's
Yeah.
never them that's the issue.
Right.
Like it's always the female. Um
Yes.
so
You got to get her to
I got
ovulate,
to get
right?
her to ovulate. So I think the money is getting the female comfortable, getting her to go, and
Yeah.
that's why I think it's good to have a multiple animal thing. So it's good having two boys.
Yeah. If you're gonna
Hmm.
do anything with, if you're gonna try to establish a group of any kind of reptile in
Right.
captivity from wild caught. The bigger the group, the better you are, because you don't know what kind of problems you're going to run into.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, I can't keep all 9 white lip eggs. I can't keep all 9 white lip eggs. I don't need all 9 white lip eggs. Could I keep all 9? He's like, no, that's not. It's 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Like
that's a tough one, man.
It is, man.
You got to do a Nick Mutton. You got to send them somewhere to sort of have them in other people's stuff.
Right, exactly. So I have the adult female. I have the adult male. I have a sub-adult male. So ideally, what I would like to do, 2 females.
That makes sense.
Right. But then it's like, well, do I let go a captive born and bred male F2? What's wrong with me? It's like, well, do I need it? It's like, no. So, yeah.
So send the male here.
Okay.
And he'll be here.
Okay.
So when you run into problems, you can say, Eric, send me the mail back.
Being a white lip at Eric's.
I am your white lip. Don't worry. I'm your white lip connoisseur. I will be there shortly with your white lip in tow.
I mean, that's what it goes down to, man. It's like,
yeah. How do you decide what you keep back, what you don't? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I told you, God forbid something comes out of those eggs that's like,
I guess
weird.
The colubrids got to go, man.
You're right. Got to get rid of the colubrid. Got it. It's done. They have to leave. Yeah.
I mean, corn snakes. Come on, bro.
Listen. Those fuckers.
You bred white lips. Come on.
I mean, I took those black rat snake babies. They hatched. I put them in a bin. And I wholesaled them, and they left. And $600 came in. Like it was.
Yeah, but you're in the big leagues now, man. You get $600 just for one.
I can move in and out. The only thing I'm not going to do is green tree pythons.
Well, I guess what I'm saying though is like if you have like you're sort of doing those rat snakes to supplement food for the white lips.
Some of them, yes.
Right.
Some of them, you are correct.
Right.
There's
so
a reason.
You're wholesaling them.
Snakes,
right.
The Cali Kings.
Right.
Black rat snakes.
But now you got big player money, man. Like you sell one white lip, that's going to take care of all those clutches.
The problem is that I have to pair up and constantly bring in more animals. So you gotta. So the colubrids pay for the pythons pay for more pythons. It's like, yeah.
Good Lord, what kind of racket you got going on?
It's my own racket. I'm my own best customer. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to convince a friend of ours who got some Maclots pythons that he needs some Chinese king rats. So, because I need some more Maclots pythons.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do them next.
Chinese king rats or Maclots?
No.
Oh, no, you're right. We don't do colubrid stuff on this channel.
We have a podcast on the network that takes care of the colubrids that can do way better than anything I can do. So
you're like, it's a snake. Anyway, next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Colubrid.
Yeah.
But I think I said this already, but the Barkers comment over and over again about the experience with wild caught adult pythons, right?
Yeah.
So they're slow to start. And they said, regardless of the taxon, even when particular individuals appear to be thriving, it takes a minimum of 3 to 5 years to get most wild caught adult pythons to breed in captivity.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you know what? A lot of shit can happen in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. And I think the thing that you have to sort of take into account when it comes to that is that, we started to see it in the early the 2010s era when scrub pythons were sort of starting to become on their own, become more popular or whatever, that you would have these groups of people, including myself, where you would have these snakes. I think you did this as well, Owen. And then
I did have some. I got.
You would move them on.
Slugs. Yeah.
Right. So that you would have them.
Tanimbar.
And then you move them on because for whatever reason, space, this, that, didn't turn out quite like the way you thought they would be, that kind of thing. But you move them on. So when you move them on, you're resetting that clock.
Right. It's another 5 years. Yeah.
Right. Which is, I think, why a lot of people, I think this is why you're starting to see more and more people breed some of those rare Indonesian things, species, because they're sticking with it. There's a lot of people today in the scrub world that sort of are working with some of the, let's say, offspring from the early 2000s and 2010s and
There are a
stuff.
lot more captive born and bred animals out there
Yeah.
than there used to be. And that just comes from people having success and sticking with it and being unwilling to, being lucky enough to not have to move stuff. Because even then, even if you don't move the animal to a new owner, say you have to move because of your job. Well, congratulations, you just reset the clock on all your pythons. Like,
which sometimes you can't do anything about it, but then that's sort of, and then I don't know, man. Well, they're not wild caught, but like I think that the more generations you have that are captive bred, I mean, I don't think there would be any reason why other species of python will be any different than what we've seen with. I mean, look at carpet pythons now. It seemed to be a lot of the more generations were right. Look at retics. Man, when retics came in wild caught in the 80s and 90s, they were straight up evil, man.
Evil.
Like when I remember when I was first getting back into pythons, I bought an African rock and I bought a retic. And when I bought the retic, my dad was more nervous about me having a retic than
the
an
African
rock. Yeah. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And yeah, because he's like, I'm telling you, the retics that he had some retics.
We're evil. Yeah.
We're straight up wanted to kill you and eat you.
Well, when you're grabbed off the jungle floor and like,
yeah, I guess my point is, look at them now. You know what I mean? And you just see it over and over and over again. And I think the more that you get them established and you see the opposite that happened, right? Look at wild Burmese pythons in the Everglades. They're freaking vicious from what I can see.
One generation back in the wild.
Yeah, they're like, we're back.
Yeah. That'd be my fault. We go herping in Florida for, freaking berms, and they'd be like, it's a berm, I'll grab it, and then help me. It's just like wrapping me up. Yeah.
Dude, I would love to see a berm in the air.
That'd be fun. I mean, we should plan a trip to Florida.
Yeah. If only we knew somebody that lived there.
Only we knew a dude that could do planning.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah,
right.
Rob.
He's all obsessed with Australia.
I think Rob I think he drowns in humidity, man. He's scared of humidity and he's scared of ticks. I don't think there's any ticks in Florida, but there's definitely humidity.
There's humidity and alligators, but there's no ticks in Florida.
Yeah. I tried to do that a couple times and it didn't seem to fly over too well. I'm like, why don't we go down to Florida? And, nah, we're going here.
Okay.
We want to go to the desert, not the jungle.
Not the. You want to go to a swamp? What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
All right.
And then I guess as we close out, there's Owen's. Which one is this, Owen? It was on your website.
Oh, that's okay. That is. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Oh, yeah. That is the boy. That is my male. That is what the fuck is it? Cipher? That's okay. Cipher. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool shot.
I like smaller.
I like the white background. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what happens when you throw them in a bucket.
Is that what it was? Did a bucket shot?
Yeah, I did that. But yeah, I tilted it because he was on it, so it was weird. But
okay. Yeah. I thought that's when you got that tent. You were like,
no. He was too big for the tent. What you do is you put him in a bucket and you just kind of. I leaned the bucket. It was an all white bucket, and then you take the shot, and then you can kind of delete the background on Photoshop.
Yeah, gotcha. Yep. I do the same thing, but black. But I kind of like the white pops. So
yeah.
Awesome snake.
I had to be different from you at some point.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah.
Cool. So I think we have wrapped up the. I don't know if any of the people in the chat have a question. They've been kind of quiet. I hope either they really hated this show.
Yeah, or they're because they're just furiously
listening. Like, oh my gosh, everybody wants Team More Pythons.
That's dude. Everybody wants Team More Pythons. Okay, and like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have no money. Oh my god, there's one on Morph Market that's below $3,000.
Wow, $3,000.
It's right now. They're $2,900 from Nerd for babies.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep.
Exantic.
Chad has them.
Timorensis. Yeah.
Yep. Chad has the one Exanic Timor.
I gotta be honest, man. I didn't really like the Exanic.
It
it was cool because it was different.
I mean,
right?
yeah, that's the problem. It takes something away from it. I don't know what he's doing with that one. I know the last time we talked about it, it was still young. I know he still has some Timors. At least I think he still does. So I don't know what Chad's doing with it.
I'm gonna see if I can pull up a picture real quick.
Yeah, it looks cool. I know there was another morph kind of running around out there. It was like an albino, but that was, I think they found out I think they revealed that was actually crossed with a retic. For that one, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's not up
going on there.
The only thing that's coming up is Exanic ball pythons.
That's not what I want at all.
Yeah, clearly this is wrong.
You're incorrect, sir. So let me see.
Yeah, probably because there's just not a lot of info on it. I mean, I had that picture somewhere a long time ago, but
let me see if I can pull up Chad's Facebook page if he's got a photo of it. I know he's got, and he was working on a ton of stuff. I think I get him to sell me his Mackless python. I should just ask.
Yeah, he's all over. He's like, he breeds pythons and then he goes back to boas and then
then he gets a bunch of pythons, gets a bunch of boas, and he gets a bunch of everything. Then he gets weird shit.
What's a mostly black Timor python?
Yeah.
Is that something that popped up? I don't know.
He's got a lot of blackheads. I trying to think the last time we saw the freaking Exanic Timor.
Tinley was the last time I saw it.
Yeah. That's an Exanic Moluccan. That's another Moluccan. I know he's working hard on those. That's some weird ass boa. Moluccans. He may not have a picture of it on his Facebook page. We may have to just bug him. Nobody. Yeah. There it is. Got it.
Got it.
Yep. Hold on. So.
Oh, did you message me?
Yeah, I just sent it to you. Okay.
Where at?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Facebook. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's cool looking. It kind of depletes a little bit of kind of what I had there. There you go. That's him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it's cool. I mean,
it's weird, but
I kind of like the yellow on this snake. You know,
it kind of takes away from a Timor.
Yeah.
Would I say no to it if somebody gave it to me? Fuck no. Like it was,
well, yeah. I mean, but like, you know, the black doesn't have the same impact on the head scales that it does when it's yellow. When that yellow is there, it's sort of like something goes away from that. I don't know if it's just the overall color of the head. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not as gold.
Yeah.
You know, but
also that thing is young in this picture.
Yeah.
I would love to see it when it hits to its adult size stride. I don't know what we have to, I guess we'll have to ask Chad about an update on this one, but I'd like to see it when it got older. And it's like, you know, it's like the whole thing of like, wait till it sheds after the egg, wait till it gets bigger, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's something that a lot of times I think even myself, I take for granted of how much they can look, how different they can look when they're like adults as opposed to when they're babies, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we will close it out there, and hopefully you guys enjoyed and you know, a little natural history.
Let us know which one you want us to do next. I prefer animals that Owen hasn't been able to breed yet. This way I can kind of learn a little bit.
So you know, I don't know. We could what are you struggling with breeding?
Water pythons.
There we go. Believe it or not, that was next on my list, you know, because
God, they're annoying.
I saw I guess we'll talk about it on Carpets and Coffee. There's a couple things that are out or whatever, but Dan from DM Exotics had put out a video where he was talking about his Papuan spotted pythons that he produced, which is awesome, you know, which is cool. And I thought he started talking about Papuan water pythons. So he has, I think he said he has a group of them.
Nice.
Because they're not really in the hobby, because most of the stuff that you see in the hobby today are either Queensland. I think the majority of them are Queensland.
I think the majority are Queensland, and then I also think everything else is a question mark mix of God knows what.
Yeah. So the problem with them, though, is although they look all the same, the work hasn't been done, but they are reported to be different species.
Great.
So.
Great.
But
that's going to mess my stuff up.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though, right? Like, do you think that why would carpet pythons be the same species from the top end and Papuan? Why would I guess they're not the same species of spotted pythons, but it seems weird of why they wouldn't be. Why would they not be?
It makes sense, but it also infuriates me, because then it means that my pair of God knows what water pythons are
hybrids.
Yeah.
Oh, you evil hybrid.
Means I have to go get stinking Queenslands and do that, or Northern Territory. Yeah,
oh, if only you knew a guy.
Yeah.
I have Queenslands. But yeah, we'll do water pythons next. That'll be fun.
Cool.
They're a cool snake. We've seen them in the wild, so we have firsthand account of
thing I've ever seen
of them in the wild, and like all our conceptions of like how big that they were, and then we see this one that's clearly eating the dogs of the dog park, and the wonder it's huge.
Thing was raised on goddamn adult possums, and it was like Jesus, like
it was humongous. But okay, we'll close it out.
We'll do that.
Like I said, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to learn about Morelia, you can visit our website, MoreliaPythonRadio.com. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, here are a few ways that you can. First, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast app you use. Help us spread the word about how this show and all the other shows on the network are helping people by sharing them. Share them around. If somebody asks a question, throw the show out there.
Exactly.
If checks out this show.
I saw several questions of people asking what morph carpet python did I just hatch?
Yeah.
And first off, that question hurts my soul, because if you're breeding carpets, you should know what the fuck you're hatching. Number one. Number two, throw out the show, because clearly these are people who are into Morelia and have no fucking idea what they're doing.
Right.
So put that out there.
Right. And then next, you can follow us on social media and subscribe to us on YouTube at NPR Network, where you can watch all of the or listen on podcasts on YouTube, I guess, if that's your thing. But social media, NPR Network, Facebook, Instagram. And then finally, if you want to take it to the next level, Patreon, our Teespring store with some NPR merch, and all of those links are in the show notes. And if you want to get in touch with us because you want to ask us a question, tell us a show idea, whatever it was, info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com is the way to go for that. Oh, shit. I totally lost my train of thought.
It's gone now.
It's gone. All right.
It's gone.
Go ahead, Owen.
All right. What I got is you can go to rogue-reptiles.com. I am taking pictures of animals and putting them up for sale this weekend. Very, very cool things like carpet pythons, maybe some Chinese king rats, and a couple other things like that. So that's what we got for everybody. So you can go there. Also, you can go to rogue_reptiles at Instagram, and I will be at the Hamburg Reptile Show this weekend. Not vending, but I will be there quickly in and out, but I can meet people there and drop off some snakes if needed. That's all we have for everybody this week. So we'll catch everybody here next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night, everybody.